Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. I am I think I'm starting to really like saying that for every live stream because you're all over the world. How are y'all doing? This is, by the way, my voice is gone, so hopefully you can hear me. It might be a little and I, of course, have two more live streams after this, but I'm powering through it. I'm drinking my tea. I hope everyone's doing great. I hope you're also soaking up the fact that, yeah, we have an amazing new moon in Libra that's coming up. What is that? 2 days from now. But it's not just that. I want to remind you, we've got Venus that's strong in Libra. Venus that rules Libra, so she's in her domicile. We've got Jupiter exalted in Cancer as well. And we have Mars and his domicile in Scorpio. So you're really feeling those energies, those archetypes for all those planets and their signs and their home signs. And of course, everyone's going to feel it differently in their lives, depending on what sign you are, what rising sign, all of that, all of that. And hello, Cindy and Coco. I know it's an early morning. Last night, I said in my live stream yesterday that I was going to go out for the first time since June. Can you believe that? I didn't have a summer, so I went to a friend's birthday party, and that's why it was like I just don't have a voice. My voice is gone. But how's everybody doing? November, y'all. It's gonna be as I always say, very different from the last month, from October. And remember, there's a lot of spillover in terms of aspects that you're going to feel moving into November, which is great. But it does shift. There's some things that change in November. And November, as I said yesterday, is a little it's so all over the place. It's one of those months where it's hard to pin down what is the biggest theme, but I can tell you that it's going to be reassessing a lot that you've done this year, especially from the beginning of the year. Remember, Saturn has moved back into Pisces, right? Neptune back into Pisces, and then Uranus will move back into Taurus in November. So these planets were in these signs, including Pluto and Aquarius, right? Which has gone direct, and it's still, a little wild. But these four outer planets are going to be exactly where they were from the beginning of the year. And so, do you remember the beginning of the year where there was a little bit of non-movement because Mars was retrograde, Venus was retrograde, they overlapped Mercury retrograde. There was a point where we had like a triple retrograde. And so it's a little different because Mars is direct. So that's great, right? But these planets are going to be retrograde. Saturn actually does go direct, and we'll talk about that. But Mercury will also be retrograde in November. And Mercury's going to be retrograde pretty much all of November and in two signs. So it is a little interesting because there's so much happening. We have daylight savings as well. That I think that's the first week, right? Daylight savings. I think they're trying to get rid of daylight savings or whatnot. But just be mindful of that, because I know that for me personally, like the older you get with daylight savings, it is so much harder to adjust. And it's turning the clock back an hour. And then there are over 30 major aspects and transits. November is loaded. I'm still piecing everything together, and it's like, what are the most important things to tell everybody? I think what I'm going to do differently for your forecast this week is that every sign, some aspects really have an impact on some signs over the others. So I think I might just highlight those, focus on those. But they're gonna be very different from how I normally do it because they're a little different. It's just November's a very interesting month. A lot of things you're gonna see resurface, especially with Mercury retrograde. In your lives, you're probably gonna return to a lot of things that you were working on in October, even the end of September, and just revising them, reassessing all the re words with Mercury retrograde, right? And then Mercury retrogrades in Sagittarius, so that's a whole other thing. But it really is, like I said, a lot of now that you've expanded your consciousness with Uranus and Gemini since July 7th until about November 7th, when Uranus is going to move back into Taurus. It's like, what do I do with all this information now? Yeah. Because Uranus moving back to Taurus, again, that's you thinking about the changes that you've made in your life from the beginning of the year. And then the summer was very different from the beginning of the year. It was all fire and air. It was all the planets and their new signs. So you were getting a glimpse of what your life is going to be like February 2026 and beyond. And then we had a really strong eclipse season in September. And so that brings us to November, where Uranus will go back into Taurus November 8th. Okay. And Uranus will, and for some people, that's going to be a big relief, right? It's going to be a big relief. I will not have Uranus on my ascendant, which is amazing. Remember, I'm going to do a whole video on Uranus. How many times I've said Uranus on my ascendant? I'll do a whole video on that. That's going to be really fun. That'll be like a 6-hour video. I hope you turn it into a soundtrack. So that's going to be nice. I won't be working 14, 16-hour days, even weekends. I will not be like, I think it's going to do a lot of work wonders for everything up here. There's so much happening and all the surprises that I had. This, oh gosh, even with health. Yeah, very fun. So that's also, as I said, in your weekly forecast or the forecast that you have out now, even the fact that Neptune moving back into Pisces, and that's until January 28th, 2026, my birthday. That's a little bittersweet. I loved Neptune in Pisces. Yeah, Neptune rules Pisces. And we've all been experiencing that since 2011. And that's a whole video on its own. You saw social media just take off. Remember, Neptune, visualize. You probably had really big dreams, all this compassion, a different way of feeling compassion. Movies changed a lot. Remember, just visual, just think visual. The arts, a lot has changed in the arts, but you see the progression from 2011 to now, right? Think about all the enhancements, everything they could do in Hollywood movies and whatnot, but that's a whole other story. Uranus moving back into Taurus November 8th until April 2026. So that's a big chunk of time as well. That's a big chunk of time as well. And it will hover. Remember, these are outer planets. They move slow. So Uranus moving back into Taurus will be hovering at that 29-degree point for a little bit, 28 degrees. It's not going to go that much further, right? It's just going to be at those late 20 degrees. So again, it's this really strong emphasis on the Taurus part of your chart. Think about what happened for you between 2018 to July of this year when Uranus was in Taurus for 7 years. You're going back to that. You're going back to that. Okay. Reassessing a lot in that area. Taurus energy is all about stability. So stabilizing again with all this new information, all these new things that you've brought into your life since this summer. Okay. So it is going to, and it starts in November. November is such a big month. It's again, I'm looking at, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? feeling stabilized, feeling grounded. Taurus is all about your values, but in different area. For instance, like if you're an Aquarius like me, right? That would be our 4th house. So Uranus is moving back into our 4th house. It is very likely a lot of Aquarians are going to be reassessing, do I want to live here? Is my chapter over in this home or this city or this country? Like where do I want to do? Or did I bring someone new into my, did I have a baby, right? Or am I having a baby? Most likely, because Uranus in Gemini over the summer for Aquarius, that was their 5th house of, creation and also procreation. So do you see how everything works in this fluid way? But again, everyone is going to have some major reassessing because Mercury again is retrograde all month. So it's the retrogrades that really matter for November. And then with Mercury retrograde, it is a little different because Mercury is going to be retrograde in Scorpio and then in Sagittarius. Mercury's going to retrograde in Sagittarius first. Then it's going to go all the way back into Scorpio up to about 20 degrees until the end of November. So Mercury's retrograde pretty much the entire month. Because remember, in 2 days, Mercury goes into shadow when it's just kind of like dipping its toes in that retrograde. So you feel it a lot stronger. And when planets go retrograde, my voice is cracking. When planets, and you see, I'm trying to do this where I'm not hurting. When planets go retrograde, that's really an illusion, right? They're not going backwards. It's an illusion in the sky. But what happens, I call it like a standstill. Yeah. So Mercury in 2 days, again, it's moving into a shadow period. So let's say it's starting to, want to go backwards. So it's kind of just like at this standstill. And then it'll go retrograde, whoosh, right? And so that's why when any planet goes retrograde or direct, you really feel it strongly because it's all this energy that's been building up. So a lot of things you're just going to be going back to while Mercury was in Scorpio this month. Okay, just revisions. There could have been some really great conversations that you had. Really, maybe you launched something. Maybe there was something that had to do with partnerships or your investments. Just those strong archetypes. But you're also going to see it. We don't really talk about world astrology here. With Nick Dagenbest we do, but just to give you an example of something that I think it happened today, and we'll talk about this on Great Awakener, but Venus moved into Libra last week, right? So I talked about this a little bit yesterday. That was Monday. Was it Tuesday? Monday or Tuesday? And that's diplomacy. That's all about commitments. It's all about peace, making peace. And so we saw the peace deal, right? Mercury and Mars were also in Scorpio at that same time. They were close. Yeah. And remember, they bring that intensity. And Mars is the god warrior. And so we heard today that there was, a little bit of someone broke the peace deal, right? And so the fact that Mercury is going to go in shadow in 2 days and then go retrograde, there's going to be a revisit to that. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So think of that as in like your personal lives, whatever you've worked on, you're probably going to go back to and make some adjustments. Okay. But there are so many great aspects in November that I'm really excited about. And these are really strong aspects that, again, are rare. They move the needle forward too for things that you've been working on, whether it is a relationship, whether it's a project, maybe it's something with work, maybe it's something with family, but there's clarity right? You're going to have some clarity, but again, you're going to be going pretty deep in terms of what do I want moving forward. Then we move into what is it? We move into Sagittarius season. Let's do this. Let me show you. There's just so much. I'm trying to. I was trying to make this like, okay, let's just do this in a way where it's uh not where we're not overloading you with information, because again, there's over 30 major aspects. This isn't, and I'm not even including like Chiron. I'm not even including like even the planetoids and asteroids and North Node, South Node, all of that. There's a lot. So what I'll do is, why don't I give you some of the best aspects, and then you can mark those. Let me find, here it is. Okay, so I took notes. Well, they're all in my, and I am putting your forecast together. I don't know if I'm going to make Wednesday. We'll see. If they don't go up Wednesday for November, your November monthly forecast, it will be Thursday, because I still have to figure out how to do this in a way where it just makes sense for you to understand. Uranus going back into Taurus, Saturn's back into Pisces, Neptune's moving back into Pisces, right? Mercury's going to be retrograde. Jupiter is going retrograde. It's a lot of retrogrades in November. It's a lot of retrogrades. So let me pull this up, and I'm going to leave you some banners. Does anybody have any questions so far? And one of the other things that's happening, which is very interesting, that is supportive of things that you're going to go back to from earlier this year, is that we do have a lot of the same aspects that we did have earlier this year. So it is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, a lot of the aspects are going to be, in different signs, but it's still, you just pay attention to those aspects, right? Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay, so here we go. Is there, let me see. Oh, one of a mind. It's great to see you. One of a mind. If you didn't see yesterday's live stream, she left, I'm not sure what to call it, gifted free memberships to people, and they were coming in. That was so sweet. That was so special. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's not a Scooby snack, it's a Ruby snack. That's true. Ruby and Scooby. Oh wow. I didn't even, there you go. I love that. Thank you so much for one of mine. And I did take her, oh gosh, I forgot to do the community. Okay, I'll do the community post. I'll send you a photo, but I have it on my Instagram. I did in the Instagram story. So again, if you didn't see yesterday's live stream, Ruby was bleeding in her lip, and I didn't know why. I didn't find a missing tooth. She had no signs of pain whatsoever, nothing, but I'm really tight with her vet, and they were closed, but she still let me come in to look at Ruby's, and it was fine. It was just, she may have just hit her face on something, and again, no signs of pain. In fact, she has shown improvement and has been happy. She was like tail wagging, which I haven't seen in like 3 weeks. But all right, let's start off with November. Again, it's still a month of transformation. You're still gonna go through major transformative experiences, okay? And a lot of this, like I said, will be you reassessing, rethinking. And remember, that works in your favor. So I never, when people, when you think about retrograde, I think people automatically just, what? No progress, but it's for you. It's for you. So remember, we're coming out of really strong, intense energies, and they will persist. Remember, a lot of aspects rolling over. But another thing that's happening is that there will be, a Venus will move into Scorpio. Yeah. So I'll talk more about that in your I'll talk more about that in your monthly forecast, but I think one of the biggest things will be, as I said, um, Uranus is moving back into Taurus, right? So there's got to be a really big emphasis on that Taurus part of your chart until April. All right. With Uranus, which is, remember, he's the great awakener. Uranus is all about opening your mind, shaking you out of your routines. Uranus wants you to shake up routines. But Uranus can also be the unexpected and surprises. So this I thought was interesting, that I'm going to put it here for you to see. Um, okay, so let's. Okay, so this is going to be one of the. It's like one of those things where it's hard. It's not hard, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, okay, this is going to be a lot to unpack. And for some reason, it is not adding the banner. There we go. So, not only is Uranus moving back into Taurus, okay, which we just talked about, November 5th, we immediately, as we enter November, have a full moon in Taurus. So when I say you're going to have a lot of emphasis on that Taurus area of your chart, oh yeah, right off the bat, with this full moon in Taurus. And the full moon in Taurus, I really, really want you to think about this one is, it's gonna be interesting, and it's a little mixed, right? Because there is an aspect happening at the same time. And it is Mars opposite Uranus. So that's happening as soon as Mars moves into Sagittarius on November 4th. And again, there's just I just don't want to overload you with information here, but just know as you move into November, it's interesting because there are some hard aspects right off the bat. Venus in Libra will square Jupiter in Cancer on November 2nd. Right at the same time, Mars is going to leave Scorpio. Yeah. So that intensity is going to move into Sagittarius, which is we'll talk about it in your forecast that's going to come out in a few days, what Mars in Sagittarius means, but it's a whole different type of energy. And when I say intensity, it's more, Sagittarius is so that it's that adventurous energy. It's fun loving, it's expanding your mind, it's you wanting to go explore and do things. So that's really great. But right off the bat, Mars will be opposite Uranus. And then you have this full moon in Taurus, right? So the full moon in Taurus, you have to think about what happened for you. This corresponds to the new moon in Taurus that we had earlier this year when Uranus was also in Taurus. And so again, a lot of reflections to earlier this year. Okay. It's April, right? That was the new moon in Taurus. So that's happening. And then another, let's look at the other lunation because I think this is going to help you. Oh my gosh, there's just so much. And if you saw your annual forecast that I did for you, I think you might remember that I talked about this in a little bit more detail. It's, oh, that 1 second. Let me just get rid of these. But yeah, I talked about these a little bit more because November, I did say, was going to be a very interesting month. November 19th is when we do have the new moon in Scorpio. So this is a little wacky, this new moon. It's interesting. And I say that because the day of the new moon in Scorpio, or at the same time, Mercury retrograde will move back into Scorpio at that time. So you'll still have that energy. And with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, on the day of the new moon in Scorpio, Mercury will then be opposite Uranus, now in Taurus. So remember, with these oppositions, um, you can just have to work with these, adapt to them, right? But it's a whole other feel. Everything has been Uranus and Gemini since July. So again, now you're going back to themes from earlier this year in your life, okay? From the beginning of the month. But when we get to this new moon, Uranus, obviously will be, opposite the sun. So, and the moon and Mercury. And it's not, I don't want you to think it's like bad. It's just there can be some surprises here. There can be some unexpected moments with this new moon, maybe a couple plot twists, but Venus will be in Scorpio at this point, and it does bring so much intensity. Venus in Scorpio, and love and your deep passions. But what makes this new moon interesting is not only that, but we will have a Mercury Cazimi basically that same day. Basically. Okay. And so that is a true refresh, a reset, especially of the mind. It's Mercury. Again, everyone's going to feel it differently. Everyone's going to feel it differently, but this could be your big aha moment. So these surprises, these unexpected surprises, it could be within you. It could be with you having this moment of clarity around this new moon. But it is very interesting to have a Mercury Cazimi. Remember, this is when Mercury's in the heart of the sun. And so I want you to think of that alignment. And so it is bringing a little bit of intensity to this new moon. But at the same time, Uranus in Taurus will sextile Neptune in Pisces. What? Remember, Uranus sextile Neptune, that's part of the prism portal. But now in different signs. Remember, the prism portal is Uranus in Gemini, sextile Neptune in Aries. So again, very interesting that that's happening. And again, if you sometimes you just you don't really look at the signs, you just look at the aspects. And this aspect, again, has not happened since 1968. Yeah. And we'll talk about this a lot more in your monthly forecast. And then it just gets a little bit more bonkers, because while you're just having that moment of clarity, while you're setting intentions for this new moon in Scorpio, again, everything that you're working on now with Mars, Mercury in Scorpio, and then you'll have the sun in Scorpio in a few days. Happy birthday to any Scorpios and any Libras too, right? It's gonna be interesting, because right off the bat, you will have this. Oh my goodness. Okay. So just 2 days later, we move into Sagittarius season. So you're kind of working with two different energies in your life at this point as you move forward. All that new moon energy with the Mercury Cazimi and Scorpio as well. You're bringing it through Sagittarius season. So it's very interesting, because you want to think of the sun as just bringing this focus, this spotlight to all of that Scorpio energy, as well as now the Sagittarius part of your chart. And remember, Sagittarius is very, very, very different from Scorpio. Sagittarius, Jupiter's home. It's Jupiter ruled, rules the ninth house, the house of the gods, right? Jupiter is Jove, Jupiter's joy. And Sagittarius is that, again, you are going to feel this adventurous spirit. it's really more about like opening your mind, broadening your horizons. But the sun in Sagittarius will then be opposite Uranus and Taurus. So another opposition, there's a lot of oppositions, but there's also some really great aspects. So those are kind of like big highlights, right? The retrogrades, including Mercury retrograde all month. Uranus moving back into Taurus is a big deal. It's a lot. Again, you're just going to be going back to the past. It's going to feel a little deja vu. But let me give you some aspects that I absolutely love, and you're going to love this too. I think that this is going to be something that's really special. On November 26th, Venus will trine Jupiter. So I did say this I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had Venus sextile Jupiter, right? And now, and I said it in the bonus spreads, like what will happen around Thanksgiving. Well, there you go. You've got Venus trine Jupiter. And this is one of the best aspects of the month. This is really nice. The last time Venus trine Jupiter was it's typically once a year, right? So I think it was December 20th, 2024, and it's just it's the two benefic planets, right? It's the two benefic planets working for you. But remember, Venus is in Scorpio now. So again, a lot of things that you've already started working on, a lot of emphasis on things. What is it? October 19th, this entire month with all this Scorpio energy that you've been working with and will continue to with the sun in Scorpio. And then you're going to have a new moon in Scorpio. So you see how you're building up to something really big with that Scorpio area of your chart. But then Venus being in Scorpio is really amplifying that. And it's a trine with Jupiter in Cancer. And Jupiter will be retrograde at this, will have gone retrograde at this point, which is fine. That's not a big deal. One other thing that I want to just point out on this same day is that, and this is, remember the grand water trine that you're about to experience. This is happening in the same day. Venus trine Saturn. So it's about the November 26th, November 27th. So you will have Venus trine both Jupiter and Saturn. And Venus trine Saturn, we have that in August, but different areas of your life. So Venus trine Saturn, that's just bringing it's longevity, just to love and relationships, money as well. Taurus in general, by the way, just so you know, is a finance sign. So a lot of y'all could have a lot of attention on money, because Scorpio energy, as you know, is all about investments as well, long term. And then that's Saturn's job, right? Making sure you have this stability, building this foundation for you moving forward. Okay. And it's with Venus. So remember, this is Venus trining Jupiter and Saturn, and Jupiter's trine Saturn. So there's your golden. So you have another, you have that grand water trine. And this is amazing. But just remember, Venus is now in Scorpio. Saturn is in Pisces. So those are the big areas of your life that you're going to have a lot of emphasis on. And it's merging this new you, the new things that you're doing, with a lot of reflection the first 5 months of 2025. So this, if you are in the US, this Thanksgiving will be a lot nicer than last year's. Last year's, there was a lot of aspects that were a little interesting. Now, what else is going to make this day really interesting is that this is the day that Saturn will go direct in Pisces. And so you're going to feel that. You're going to remember, when planets go direct, you feel it. And they're outer planets. So inner planets, you really feel, right? Mars, Mercury, Venus, like those you could feel like on a daily basis, and you can actually see things unfold and you can really feel them. They're so close to Earth energetically as well. But the outer planets, there can be some like, it's like those undercurrents that you may feel. And then the great news is that Mercury goes direct at the end of the month, on the 29th. Okay. In Scorpio, meaning Mercury will be back in Scorpio in December from the 29th. And so you're still going to have that intensity with Mercury in Scorpio. Venus will move into Sagittarius the last day of November as well. So it's just, there's so much happening. And that's just like, just a couple things. It's just a couple things. But those are some really exciting aspects that are going to be happening. Also the sun, let me put that down. The sun will trine Jupiter as well. That's something that is really exciting. The sun is actually going to have some really great aspects, by the way. And there's so many trines. There's so many great sextiles. So there's a lot of great things that are happening that you're going to get excited about. And remember, I don't want to give you everything in this, and that's why I'm just like, should I tell them this or not? But I'll give you that. I'll give you that. This is possibly the best aspect. This will be the best day of November. Okay. If you want to write this down in your books. I don't know why I say the books all the time. So that's going to be November 16th when you have the sun trine Jupiter. So definitely the best day of the month. Around this time, there's a nice cluster of great aspects. Jupiter will have gone retrograde at this point, just a few days before. Mercury, by the way, will be in Sagittarius at this point, and Mars will be in Sagittarius at this point. So Mercury will conjunct Mars again. Okay. Remember, we're having that literally today, tomorrow. Okay. But it's in Scorpio. And so it's a very different energy when you have Mercury conjunct Mars in Sagittarius, which is leading up to the sun trine Jupiter. Sun in Scorpio trine Jupiter in Cancer. All right. So this is, I'd say this is the best day. And remember to trine. So you're going to feel it days before, you're going to feel it days after. This is just the peak of it. And we did have the sun trine Jupiter January 30th of this year, if you want to think about what happened around that time. Again, Jupiter is just, it's luck, good fortune, it's expansion. A lot of it is just wisdom, right? And we know what the sun is. So there is definitely something here to look forward to. And a lot of it will feel emotionally moving with the fact that the sun is going to be in Scorpio, Jupiter in Cancer. You have two water signs. And so this is, again, very, very nice. And the reason why, I'm going to give you one more thing. I really wanted to say, I want to like excite you when you get to your forecast, but I'll give you one more. What's going to happen is that the very next day, so it comes as a package deal, the sun will trine Saturn too. So the sun is still in Scorpio. Remember that. So everything that you're working on now or have emphasis on now with that Scorpio area of your chart, depending on what sign you are, rising sign, or even moon, you see that it's building towards something. So you're going to reap your rewards. And then you do have that new moon in Scorpio as well. So the Scorpio part of your story is not finished, not even close. All right. And the fact that you have the Sun trine Saturn in Pisces, wow, with all that luck and abundance that's spilling over from, the Sun trine Jupiter. Again, you have to consider it this package deal, the Sun trine Jupiter and Saturn. So those are really special. Those are those are really, really nice aspects to look forward to. And I would say, let me give you one or two aspects that might be a little, yeah, might be a little bit challenging. We will have, all right, I already told you about Mars and Uranus on November 4th, okay? So keep that in mind. And I'm just going to give you one more. Oh, I think I told you Venus squared Jupiter as well. But let me just give you, and then Mercury retrograde. I know for a lot of y'all, listen, Mercury retrograde is one of the best things because it gives you this time to reassess, relook at anything that you may have missed in your plans and your goals. So it's a lot of it is correcting course. However, yes, it does come with the delays. Miscommunication is off the charts. And that's why I said in your forecast, get everything done now. Get everything that you can possibly get done now before Mercury goes retrograde at the beginning of November. And even with Mercury moving into shadow in 2 days, you might start seeing a couple miscommunication. It's all to help you correct course. And people coming back. Don't forget, that's a big part of Mercury retrograde. People and even circumstances from the past coming back. The Scorpio energy, remember, it's a lot of partnerships. It can be love and it can be business and work, intimacy. Yeah. So let me just give you one that I feel like some of y'all might want to know about. This is one that is going to be happening on November 7th. So Venus will square Pluto. And the reason why this one comes on my radar for one of the most challenging aspects is because it's Venus in Scorpio at this point. And remember, it brings a little intensity. Very different from Venus in Libra. And it's Venus in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius. So you have two fixed signs. They're not budging. And Venus and Pluto. Remember, we had Venus trine Pluto this month. Oh, how good did that feel, right? With love and relationships and money and feeling empowered and right. But this is a square, so there can be something here where it's power struggles. It can be a little bit of it's that Scorpio energy, those lower expressions that every sign has, right? Which can be a little bit of jealousy and obsession around this time. Maybe even like power struggles, manipulative energy, right? So this is when you want to be very mindful of the fact that there might be some miscommunication with Mercury retrograde, right? And this is all happening around the time of the full moon in Taurus, right? Right at that same time. Taurus is also a fixed sign, okay? And then remember, it was November 8th, Uranus moves back into Taurus. When these outer planets move, you feel it. So that's a lot of fixed energy in a cluster just around the 7th with the full moon that's happening November 5th. And that you feel days before, days after. Full moons illuminate. You do have Venus in Scorpio squaring Pluto in Aquarius. It can be, but remember, you can use these aspects. They're for, well, I'll talk about that in your forecast. And then Uranus going back into Taurus. And remember what I said. Taurus is a finance sign, but Taurus is very central. It's all about feeling as well. Yeah, I feel. And there's going to be, and so remember, so Taurus actually rules the second house, and that is money and self-worth and self-value, things that you value, possessions, material possessions. So it could be a little bit of not seeing eye to eye over themes like that. But again, every sign will feel it in different ways. Every sign, every single sign. Ma'am? Does anybody have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? I don't know. My voice has never been this gone before. Let me just see something here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then remember, Mercury retrograde is going to be on the 9th. Yeah. I'll put that for you. I'll put that here. But remember, Mercury's going to be in Sagittarius at this point. So that's, again, very different. It's very different from Mercury in Scorpio. But Mercury starts dipping his toes in that retrograde in Scorpio. We get to November 9th when Mercury moves in retrograde into Sagittarius, because Mercury is going to move into Sagittarius at the end of this month. I hope that makes sense. Again, it's a complicated month. November is complicated because Mercury, yeah, sure, retrograde in Sagittarius, but it goes retrograde so far back past that 0-degree point into Scorpio, which will be the 18th. So 9 days of Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. And then you have 10 days of Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. And by the end of November, Mercury goes direct in Scorpio. And it will be in Scorpio and then goes back into Sagittarius in December. Anyway, any questions on any of that? That was a lot. And again, that's why I'm just like, I'm looking at because that was, there's so much happening. There's so much happening in November. So even, again, your monthly forecasts that are going to come out, I think I'm just going to structure them differently and give you some of the bigger highlights because there's over 30 aspects here. There's so much happening here with all these movements, all these retrogrades, all these transits, so many planets moving into new signs, but then going back into their, original signs and then moving forward in their new signs. And it's an interesting month. So again, part of your transformation, but you're going to see a lot of things about you and what's happening in your world that you're going to, that Mulder energy, and still a lot of Scorpio energy. Remember, it's truth seeking. So a lot of truth seeking in your transformation. A lot of y'all are going to have really big questions like, is this what I want? Or do I feel fulfilled here? Is there something that I still want to achieve in this area of my life? Is it something that I want to pursue? A lot of reassessing to how far you've come as well from the beginning of the year to where you're at now. And again, you're still, it's not even near over. You've got that new moon in Libra happening in 2 days. That's, yeah, the grand water trine. There's still so much happening for y'all. So very exciting, but there is got to be change and surprises in November. Any questions? Yeah, I'm looking at the chart. I'm just like, it's just November's really loaded. Okay. TM, you asked, how does Uranus and Taurus affect Taurus sun signs? Yeah, again, it's mostly for if you are a Taurus or if you have Taurus in your top 3, Taurus rising, Taurus moon, just think about, and for any sign for that matter, I would really focus on what happened between 2018 to July 2025 and your evolution. Okay. Uranus is all about progress. Yeah. It's all about breakthroughs. So think about all the major breakthroughs that you've had. And again, this is softer. It's Uranus. It just, again, just kind of doing a check in. And so you're going to be reassessing a lot of things in terms of what have I accomplished? What do I want to accomplish? What are some things that I went through that I'm proud of myself, or some things that I never want to happen again? And yeah, it is a time to, that's the other thing about November. You're still going to feel very empowered while all these outer planets are more or less retrograde pretty much throughout November. Pluto isn't. Yeah, Pluto is a planet of empowerment, and Pluto will have a lot of aspects. I hope that helps. Oh, we can get rid of, I don't know how to delete, hide. There we go. Okay. Vicky, what day in November is best to load up my motorhome with dogs and cats to head back to Tennessee to my new home? I am headed back to Wyoming right before Christmas. I am nervous heading out alone. Oh, that's a lot. Well, Vicky, I think that's a lot. Well, hey, don't be nervous. You're going to be fine. Remember, it's the one thing is Mercury is retrograde. So just there may be some miscommunications, some delays. There may be some, tech glitches. Just always be prepared for those, especially if you're traveling. But it really just, again, everyone, right, will more or less be traveling over the holidays for Thanksgiving in the US. And I know that Mercury's retrograde. I'm doing my annual trip to visit my family in Atlanta. So I stop in a city for a few days. I don't do it not, I take maybe I drive like 3 or 4 hours. So it takes a long time. It's like 2.5 weeks. But I'm aware that Mercury's retrograde. So I'm planning everything now. That's what I'm doing. I'm planning all the hotels. I'm planning all the rest stops. I'm planning everything right now, just so there's no surprises with that. And that's for everyone. That's why I say plan now, book the hotels now, make sure you have everything that you need. You know what it's like when Mercury's retrograde during the holidays. So keep that in mind. Yeah, but you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Just trust your intuition, play some really great, wonderful music, do the hemi sync, all of that. You're going to be wonderful. Vicky, think of me, play my videos while you're driving, listen to my voice. But you're going to be fine. But that's really exciting too. I can only imagine the photos of that with you and your dogs and cats. How amazing. Oh my goodness. And I love Tennessee. I used to go to Chattanooga all the time. I grew up in Marietta. I'm sure you know what that maybe, Vicky. I don't know. Dawn. Yes, me too. I'm so excited, Dawn. Oh my goodness. That has been, yeah, I talked about it yesterday, but yeah, I am too. I really am. And again, I just wanted to give you a sneak peek. We'll have some more messages for you when we do have the new moon in Libra and after. Oh, church bells. You hear that? That's a good sign. Max is definitely gonna be something to look forward to. Danielle, you're so relieved and thrilled it's so good to see you. Hear that baby girl is doing better. I know her journey to healing was right around the corner. It's wonderful to hear her tail wagging again. Thank you so much. Yeah, and it was this team, and I mean, the vet that I go to, they're so invested in Ruby. They love Ruby. They love it when Ruby comes in. They love holding her. She's so little, right? So they do a great job. So it was, they really took a look, and thankfully it wasn't anything. It was something that I thought that it was just a little, maybe she had a little cut, but she is, I don't know if you can see. Probably not. Can you see her? Like, just lay. She's chilling out right behind me. There she is. Ruby. She's always near me. She had a nice little walk this morning. But thank you so much, Danielle. Brian, is this a month where we are or are not backup dancers? Brian, you're never a backup dancer. No one's ever a backup dancer. Yeah, unless you're not taking inspired action, then yes, you're gonna be a backup dancer. You're gonna be one of those that just they're like, just, bob your head. Like, you're not even in like the front row of the backup dancers. So you got to take inspired. Everyone's got to take inspired action. Brian, you're hilarious. Y'all are gonna see a lot more of Brian. Did you get my newsletter? We sent out a newsletter. Brian's come on board. He's gonna be, y'all. Wait, yeah. We'll talk about it, because I'm looking at the time, but meditation, breath work. Oh, I'm so excited. And I was in my physical therapy that I've been doing for 2 months now. I've been learning a lot of new breath work techniques as well. So I'm very invested, very excited. Brian's going to be doing breathwork classes on Great Awakener. I'm just so excited for this. I'll be a backup dancer for that, Brian. Y'all, is there, and I, speaking of which, I gotta hop on the Great Awakener train, and so we're gonna do the world predictions and the channeling, and there's so much. Again, I think that I said it yesterday. There's so much like information overload. There's a lot of things happening, to the point where I just can't keep up anymore. There's just so much news every day, but it keeps you on your toes. But remember what I said yesterday. You have to be very discerning when it comes to news, right? Things that you read in social media. Trust your intuition, trust your gut, and then you're going to be absolutely fine. Vicky, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I really appreciate it. Oh, y'all, this is, I'm so sorry about my voice too. Does it, how when you have your, like, for me it sounds so odd, but I don't know for y'all if it even sounds any different. But anyway, Vicky, thank you. I really appreciate it. Y'all, today is going to be, remember it, you got that, what is it, Sunday? Yeah, you already have that portal opening up for you, the grand air trine with the moon in Libra, because the moon is in Libra officially, and it's just really special. It's just really special. Sextile Uranus and Gemini, Pluto and Aquarius. Uranus is trine Pluto. And remember, nobody on this planet has experienced it, okay? Nobody on this planet. It's that new. So you're going through some major experiences that are exciting for you to have this energy. So I'm very excited. Let me see. I can take another question or two, because I gotta jump. It's at 12:15. Oh, Wes, that's a really good question. Hello, Wes. Is that in the sweater vest? I love it. Wes, the redesign. Yes, it will go live this week. In fact, very soon. I would even say tomorrow, but I don't want to. But again, I just it's like I want to like wait for the new moon, right? But yeah, but you will get an email, the newsletter. We'll send one right away as soon as it's live. Okay. But it'll be very, very, very soon. And remember, time is speeding up anyway. So it's going to be like right before you know it. Right before you know it, it's gonna happen, which is really oh. All right. So I think I have to save my voice a little bit. Y'all, thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing, amazing rest of your weekend, and especially with the new moon coming up in 2 days. You feel it, right? It feels so good. It feels so good. So remember, it's not just Venus in Libra, it's Jupiter exalted in Cancer as well. Mars exalted in Scorpio, giving you that willpower that gotta get it, gotta get it. And even the, Jupiter trine Saturn, you have that grand water trine. There's just so much happening. So much happening. So I hope that you feel really emotionally moved. The moon being in Libra, that's so soft and that's so sweet. And it's a very social. I hope a lot of y'all are feeling social, a lot of networking, doing your networking. But I always say you never know what doors can open for you. Then I hope that you're really feeling Venus in Libra. We only get it once a year pretty much. So it's really, really nice. Venus loves being in Libra. And remember, it's all month. So take advantage of that. Everyone, y'all are amazing. Thanks so much. I'm gonna see a lot of y'all over on Great Awakener in 15 minutes. Me and Melody. All right. Y'all have an amazing weekend. I'll see you very soon. But there's November for you, and just your forecast will come out this week. I don't know. I gotta say, I gotta figure out the best way to do it. It's gonna be very different from the forecast because you will see what I'm talking about. There's a lot big changes happening, but also I just don't want to lose my voice to the point where I can't even do your forecast. I gotta just pace them out differently. So they may come out Thursday instead of Wednesday. But I got you, and they will come out this week. And y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. It was so great seeing y'all. And again, have an amazing weekend. Please do something really exciting and just feel all this wonderful Jupiter and Cancer, Venus and Libra energy. Okay? I'll see y'all soon. Thanks so much. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.